do this. The Cult of Hockey podcast by the faithful and for the faithful. I'm David Staples of the Edmonton Journal, and I'm here tonight with Bruce McCurdy. Hey, Bruce.
Hey, David. How are you doing tonight?
Great. That was a hell of a game. That was a very exciting game and a uplifting game for Oilers fans. I mean, the Oilers they're firing on all cylinders. I mean, other than that glitch in Columbus where they fell apart in the third, they have just been playing great hockey. And tonight was another example of it, Bruce. 5-1. Is that the final score?
5-1.
5-1 victory over the Pittsburgh Penguins. Going to Pittsburgh and stomp them. And the game was a little closer than the score might have indicated. We had the grade A shots in that game at 19-16 for the Penguins. And the five alarm shots have a 33+% chance of going in. We had those at 16-9 for the Penguins. Now, 5 of those 5 alarm shots came in 1 3-second burst, barrage from the Penguins in the second period where they didn't score. They just kept slamming it into Mike Smith's pads from point blank range as he sprawled on the ice. But 16-9, so 16, you'd expect 5 goals at least. You'd expect about 5 goals, I think, there. So Mike Smith just let in 1. That's not bad. Bruce, we're going to do our 2 good things, 2 bad things, and 2 numbers podcast. And we'll do 2 good things each since it was a pretty big win for the Oilers.
Wrapped up second place. Got to 100 points on the season. I'd call that a big game.
Did they get 103 that good year with McCurdy?
They got 103.
So they can still surpass
16,
that.
17. So that's still there for the surpassing, yes.
100 points is nice, eh? That's a nice number. That's like a serious number. Like, that's like, kind of Stanley Cup contender-ish number.
Mm-hmm.
Not a favorite, but in the running.
All 8 playoff teams in the East got 100 points. So just to put it in perspective, all 8 teams, first time ever. And of course, teams are learning more and more how to game the Bettman point system. But 100 still 100. A normal like an average team playing the Bettman point system would have about 41 wins plus 10 Bettman points for about 92. So anything over or over 100 is, solidly in the upper echelon of the league. Not the top, but tending in that direction.
Indeed. Alrighty, Bruce. Let's. What is your good thing?
Yeah. Okay. I'm going to go with Kyler Yamamoto as one of my good things in this game. Loved his game. Loved his aggressiveness and just his continued Energizer Bunny battery that won't quit that he has going on his good nights, especially. Sometimes even his bad nights, that's not the problem, but he has other problems. But tonight he didn't really have any problems. I liked his game a lot. He really made a sweet pass for a well-earned assist on the game-winning goal by Evander Kane, a 3-way passing play where 4-way passing play. Let's get it right. Where Evan Bouchard sent McDavid zooming in on the left wing. He passed to Yamamoto in the slot, and Yamamoto quickly made a backhand pass across the slot to Kane, who was coming in on his off wing, and he just hammered it home. And I thought it was good vision, good execution by Yamamoto, and that was a huge goal. Pittsburgh had just tied the game like 25 seconds prior, and Edmonton took it back, the lead back, and of course they held the lead for the rest of the game. Pittsburgh never scored again, but that was a game-turning goal for the Oilers, and Yamamoto's pass I thought was kind of the best play in a whole sequence of nice plays there. He wound up with that assist, plus 2, 3 shots on net, including a couple of real doozies, and 2 hits, 2 block shots, and he chipped in on the penalty kill, almost 2 minutes of action on the penalty kill. I just thought all around we saw, what breadth of game that Kailer Yamamoto has to offer.
He was very, very good tonight. I agree, Bruce. Hustling all over the place. Such a smart player and fitting in so well with McDavid and Kane, their skill. He's got a high level of skill, Kailer Yamamoto, and you give him some space, and he gets space when he's out there with those two guys. He keeps that line moving along. So that leads into my good thing, which was Connor McDavid. He was fantastic tonight. He got 3 assists and 1 goal. So the first 3 plays are good McDavid kind of plays, good scoring plays. They're nothing brilliant, just typical McDavid, really, really good. The first one, Evander Kane wins the puck, puts it to McD and for Bush, and you've described it, Yamamoto's screen there on that shot.
Right.
The next one, he gets a nice pass from Bouchard, and then McDavid kind of takes it fast and wide, puts it back into the middle where Kane and Yamamoto combine on a passing play and get the goal. Kane gets the goal, slams it home. That goal was straight out of 1985, Bruce. That was so nice. That was 1985 vintage Oilers. Just such a high level of skill. The next
one extra pass followed by the one-timer slammed home. Yeah, that was a goal that could have been scored by Mike Krushelnyski in 1985. That after Gretzky, Curry, and Coffey had all passed the puck and him putting the finishing nail in. That was the kind of goals those guys did score.
I think Krushelnyski got about 84 or 85 points that year.
88 points in
88 points for Mike Krushelnyski. Wow.
3 goals. And the line got 187 goals. That's the all-time record. Can you imagine? They averaged 62 per player.
Hard to imagine. It's hard to imagine. Even though we saw it. It was hard to imagine. The next one was a power play goal early in the third. He makes a low-high pass to Nugent Hopkins in the high slot, who puts it on net, and Hyman slams in the rebound. Very nice play by Zach Hyman. And then, of course, comes the pièce de résistance. He gets set up by Leon with a pass, and he takes it down the side of the left side. And he's at quite a tight angle, but he does this goal that the NHL elite goal scorers are scoring more and more often. If you're looking for a reason that goal scoring is going up, it's just incredible shot making of the players is got to be the reason. They're making this shot in a way that players just didn't ever make before. You'd hardly ever see a goal like that. And now it happens, seems like every 5th game, maybe every 10th game.
Oh, they're fairly frequent. I mean, you're always seeing guys fire them up around the goalie's ears, and the goalie's lucky it doesn't hit him in the ear and go in. One or the other is bad enough.
So it's picking the short side when you have a tight angle and it's going up over the goalie's shoulder, just that little spot, top shelf where Mama keeps the cookies. Yeah. Putting it right there, just the size of a puck or two, and sliding it in there, and he scored. He just slammed that in. It was such a beautiful goal, such an amazing shot. And this leaves McDavid, what's he at, 122 points?
Yep.
Yeah, 122 points to Huberdeau with 115, correct?
Yes, Huberdeau had 0 points tonight in a 4-2 Florida loss. So that was a big nail in the scoring race to stretch it from 3 to 7 points with 2 games left for each player. I like McDavid's chances now.
And you know what, Bruce? I think this little bit of a battle. Maybe it's not being noticed in other cities. Maybe it's just me that's noticing, and other Oiler fans that are noticing. But to me, this really does cement McDavid as the MVP. He's putting some distance between him and Huberdeau here at the end. He's pulling it out. And, if he wins the scoring race by, let's say, 10 points, I think that's gonna win him the MVP. Although there's a lot of people, I did a poll, and there's a lot of support even in Edmonton. The people who follow me are mostly Edmonton hockey fans. There was, I think it was about 2/3 support for McDavid in the poll, if I recall correctly. But there was a lot of support for Roman Josi. Yeah. And But I don't, in the end, see Roman Josi beating McDavid if McDavid wins the scoring championship handily. And the Oilers get 100 points. They're a pretty good team. He's huge for them. I think it's a pretty strong argument. Agree or
Yeah, I think
disagree?
Matthews will get it.
You
I'm
do?
not saying he should. I'm just saying I think he will.
You do, eh? You think he'll
Yeah.
get it?
Oh, yeah.
That's
Sure.
really.
60 goals. And,
Does
he's
he
got
have 60
100.
now?
Yeah, I got 59 and 60 tonight.
Oh, well, maybe he will, Bruce. Maybe he will.
So nobody's done that for a while. And people are, I think the voters are understandably going to have a little bit of Oilers fatigue. I mean, let's face it, the Oilers won back-to-back MVPs the last 2 years, and 3 of the last 5. And so I don't know that we have a whole lot to complain about if it goes to a player on another team. But, I mean, McDavid, yes, you can certainly make a case, and he's making his own case.
He's making his own.
He'll be a finalist, I would have to think, for sure, and then we'll just see how the votes crumble. But my guess is that the voters will lean towards Austin Matthews. Don't get mad at me. I'm just saying what I think will happen.
I'm not mad at you, Bruce, personally. I know you're talking to
I know
readers,
there are people
listeners
out there. Thanks for listening, everyone.
Thanks for listening, everyone. I agree that people will be mad, and I'll be mad if Matthews wins it. I think that'll be a major burn. But maybe, you know what? If I'm completely honest, I don't watch Austin Matthews play. I don't know how good he is. Like, he may be, for all I know, a beast on defense, a much better defensive player than McDavid. And 60 goals is nothing to sneeze at. So I'll just try to shut up if he wins and not say much at all. But I probably won't do that. All right.
David, did you know that as of about 2 days ago, and it's probably still true, that 7 of the 32 NHL teams are Canadian? You did know that. 7 of the top 10 scorers in the NHL play for Canadian teams. How's that? 2 for Edmonton, 2 for Calgary, 2 for Toronto, and 1 for Vancouver.
It's very sweet. Now, some of that has come because the Canadian teams drafted high, right? And they got McDavid and Draisaitl and Matthews and Marner and
sure.
But nonetheless, lots of teams draft high and they don't get that player.
Mm-hmm.
The Buffalo Sabres had a chance at Leon Draisaitl. They did not take him. So thank goodness for that.
Well,
but
Florida got Huberdeau in the 3rd overall pick. I mean, a lot of the high scorers are very high draft picks because offensive players tend to stand out at a very young age. That pick me, and so you have always have a lot of real high end draft choices in the mix. But Canadian teams have got a lot of stars right now. It's as simple as that.
It's great. It's fantastic. It's not like the 80s, but I mean, in the 80s, the Calgary Flames and the Edmonton Oilers were the best teams for a period in the NHL for quite a stretch of 3 or 4 years, maybe. And that was fantastic. It was absolutely fantastic. And I just hope we see a Flames Oilers playoff series. I'd love to see that. And I'd love to see this version of the Oilers take on this version of the Flames. Alrighty, your second good thing, Bruce.
I'm going to have to go with Mike Smith. Another strong game from the veteran netminder. A few exciting moments handling the puck. Not all of them good. One, the Pittsburgh scorekeepers called it a takeaway by Sidney Crosby that wound up with some exciting action around the Oilers' net. But I thought overall he had a very strong game. Stopped 33 out of 34 shots and got his team going in the right direction with some good puck handles and some good zone clears. Very unlucky not to actually score a goal there in the empty net situation at the end. And I just thought overall, what'd you say, 16 5-alarm shots?
Yes.
And one of them went in? Oh.
Yeah.
Well, we've never had a number anywhere close to 16 before. And even if you take away that one sequence and say, well, if they just scored on the first shot, they only would have had 1 5-alarm shot, not 5. But still, that's still 12. And that's a lot.
It's a very high number.
And you'd expect to see 3 or 4 goals emanate from those number of shots. And he held them down to 1. And Again, he was shaking his leg a little bit there at one time, that left leg, you know. I don't think it's 100%, and I don't suppose it's going to be 100% between now and the end of this season, but he's battling through it.
Then he took that hard shot in the midsection.
It looked like it might have caught his fingers under his blocker or something.
Yeah. I hope he just sits out the next 2 games. Like, give him a rest now, right?
Well, they got back-to-back, so I dare say I'll play one of them. Anyway, I'm about to do, this was game number 80, so I'm about to do the 10-game segment review tomorrow. And between games 71 and 80, Mike Smith started 7 of those games. He posted a record of 7 wins, 0 losses, with a .963 save percentage and a 1.29 goals against average, and that game-winning assist in San Jose. He's had a phenomenal run. And, you know, even there's people that, let's just say they don't trust that he's going to be able to keep it going. But you got to look at that and say, holy moly, has that guy been on a hot streak and a half? I mean, that's 3 weeks. And 7 games in a row where he allowed, well, the worst was 3 goals against in the 6-3 win against Colorado. And otherwise it was 2s, 1s, and 2 shutouts in there. And it's just the numbers are phenomenal, and the play has backed it up. He's been close to unbeatable.
.915 save percentage now, Bruce.
Well, there you go. It's like 900 at the beginning of this stretch.
That it really is kind of an amazing run for him. Like, good for him.
This is Javi Bulin in October 2011 territory in terms of how hot a roll he's on right now. Remember that one year when Javi Bulin came out on absolute fire and he was like .960 in October?
And then, and everyone said he can't maintain it.
Yeah, they were right.
They were right.
Yeah. And
so
I'm not expecting .963 going forward, but it is something to behold over an identifiable chunk of games like the 10 that we normally review.
Mike Smith has a .915 save percentage. Bruce. Andrei Vasilevsky .917.
There you go.
That's your Demko .915. What does Marc-Andre Fleury have now? Has he had a good run of games?
He's in 2 different teams, so it might be tricky to find that out. But Smith is doing fine among the
Marc-Andre Fleury .908, Robin Lehner .907, and one, good for Mike Smith. Good for Mike Smith. Bruce, my good thing was Evan Bouchard, who I thought looked as confident with the puck as I've seen him in the NHL. He was just slinging that puck around. He was making fine passes all game long. I mean, that second goal by Evander Kane, that 1985 goal, the 1985er, Bouchard started that all off with just a fantastic diagonal dart to McDavid. And he scored 1 goal moving into the slot and firing the puck in. He scored another goal, which was even a better shot, which was called back because of an offside rule. I guess if you could live by the offside rule, you die by it now and then too, eh? And I know you don't like that rule. So he was just he was fantastic. I just think we focus a lot on the downside of players, all of us. And we've noted repeatedly, his defensive play as a rookie has been spotty. He has made a high number of really bad mistakes. I charted yesterday in today's post the number of bad mistakes, which are like turnovers, bad line changes, allowing a breakaway, and bad pinches. He's got the highest rate of any regular Oilers defenseman. So he has had his defensive struggles. That's expected as a rookie. It's also expected that a rookie's offensive confidence isn't going to quite be there, that there's going to be major improvement there as well. So I think we can expect some improvement on defense, but I think we're getting an inkling of just what his offensive game is going to be. And Bruce, he's not Cale Makar or Quinn Hughes. He's not like Peter Pan on his skates twinkling around the ice, or Legolas. He doesn't have those fast feet to climb up an Oliphant. But he is a tremendous passer and shooter of the puck. and a very smart player. And I thought it was on display all night long. It was very gratifying to see him, I think, have a kind of a coming out moment. And I hope he can continue to play with this kind of confidence. It would be huge for the Oilers
Mm-hmm.
if he can continue to maintain this kind of confidence, which is hard to do, right? Very difficult. Doesn't mean he has to score 2 goals and get 1 called back every game.
Right.
But if he keeps making passes like this, but getting pucks on net, good things are going to continue to happen. He's got a lot of points now, doesn't he? What has he got? Let me just check here.
He does. I was just looking at it myself. And he's got, he's 28th in the league with for defensemen with 42 points. But even strength points, he's going to be a fair bit higher than that.
He is indeed. Summary.
Yeah, he's 15th, and he tied for 14th with Brent Burns in even strength points with 35.
It's plus 10 on the year, goals for, he's also like in terms of an underlying number, the one that we tracked for major contributions and mistakes on grade A shots. He and Ceci are right at the top of the Oilers list. Now, Ceci has played more difficult competition than Bouchard,
Yes.
But Bouchard has played. Yeah, Ceci and Nurse have played by far, according to Puck IQ, Darcy McLeod's in the Wood Money system, which is a fantastic way to measure quality of competition.
Sure is.
They have Nurse above 40% of his time against elite competition, and Ceci's near 40%, and then everyone else is below 30%. So Bouchard's, Ceci's much more having a much more impressive even strength play this year than Bouchard, even though they're kind of equal in our rating system. But pretty good for a rookie. Pretty darn good for a rookie.
Yeah, well, since Woodcroft and Manson took over, Nurse is about 51% of his minutes against top competition. It's just way above I charted it against the whole league. He's got the toughest competition. He kind of stands out above the chart and he's being tasked with it. And other guys stand out against the league in terms of results against pretty hard competition, like Charlie McAvoy in Boston. And that Puck IQ shows what a fantastic season that guy's having. But Nurse has been the guy, but Ceci and Nurse has been the pair since Manson and Woodcroft took over the team, and specifically the D-Corps. And that's how they run it. So it was kind of encouraging tonight to see, without Nurse, to see the defense as a group play a pretty strong game, I thought. Thought they had the puck moving forward most of the time.
Well, there was a lot of 5-alarm chances against Bruce.
I
do agree with you.
Like the puck well.
Yeah, it was a weird game in that regard.
It was.
And some of the 5-alarm chances came because of Smith's miscues too, right? There was a couple like that, where he failed to cut out the puck that was coming into the slot, and it was very dangerous in the first period. But I agree with you. I thought the defense looked good, and again, like, props to Cody Ceci for playing tough competition and yet having such success in terms of like creating grade A shots and defending against them. That guy he's been the Oilers' best defenseman this year. I would argue, and I know Darnell Nurse has been really good, but I'm going to say Ceci edges him out just a little bit. Your bad thing.
Yeah, not a lot to hate about this game, but I'm kind of cheesed off at the puck on what appeared to be a 200-foot perfect shot by Mike Smith that landed. It went in the air for about 170 feet, and it landed. Looked like it was going right in the middle of the net. And he'd already put a shot right in the middle of the net earlier when the goalie was back in. He'd come out, and he went back in. And Smith had one practice shot on net, and then he had a second shot at the empty net, and it looked like he had it dead center. No Oilers goalie has ever done this. And they had the behind the net view while it was happening, which is rare. And you could see it come down, and it was like, hey, it's going in the net. And then Smith himself even started to charge out and celebrate. And then it landed on an edge, and it just did the in-turn and just skittered just wide of the post. And it was practically going sideways by the time it got there. Russ Howard would have said, it got behind the guard and it just went sideways, and just Oh, it would have been such a nice sort of little exclamation point on the home ice clinching game and this whole little hot streak, but it wasn't to be. And they wound up getting two other empty net goals, one of which actually counted, but it was a little anticlimactic compared to what might have been. So
So
darn
you're
that puck.
blaming the ice there, not the puck?
The puck. I'm blaming the puck.
Okay,
It
not the
landed it
ice.
landed on an edge,
Yeah, landed
and
on
it
edge.
kind of
Yeah,
took this sideways hop into
bummer.
the bunker, when you think you
Yeah,
hit the perfect shot. So
Louis thought it was in. I thought it was in. Okay, my bad thing, Bruce.
yeah.
My bad thing
Hmm.
is Jeff Carter's mullet. And I was
Oh yeah.
almost thinking it was my good thing. I couldn't figure out if that was a good thing or a bad thing. But Bruce, I have not seen a mullet like that since 1988. I don't think. Well, maybe the early 90s. Maybe the early 90s. That is straight out of. Now, I'll tell you what, Don Selesky. You take a
Yep.
look at Jeff Carter right now and go look, Google. Okay, if you're listening to this, call up
Hmm.
Jeff Carter from last night and then Don Selesky. They look identical. They look identical. They are this. It's like he's son of Don. It was like Will Smith at his current age decided to play a hockey player in a movie, and that's how he would look. Was how Jeff Carter looked tonight. That mullet was it
Not
was a mullet and a perm,
not
and it
Will
was
Smith.
outrageous. That was crazy.
Who are you thinking of? Not Will
Oh,
Smith.
I said Will Smith. I meant Will Ferrell. Sorry,
Will
Will Smith.
Ferrell. Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah. No, Will. If it was Will Ferrell at his age, yeah, playing a hockey player. So that
Hmm.
mullet, that's I don't know. Like it's like either a 0 or a 10. It's one or the other, and I can't quite make up my mind, Bruce.
Yeah. Well, that guy got drafted in 2003. It's now 2022, and he's still deadly
He
after all
is.
these years.
What a
Just
player.
still deadly. He's still scoring goals against the Oilers. He's been doing that the whole time, for whether he was in Philly or especially in LA or now in Pittsburgh. And he's just uh, one of my more favorite players. Never played on the Oilers, that I just kind of followed his career, and I've always liked him as a player, except for when he's playing against the Oilers, and then he's a big pain in the butt.
Come to think of it, if Will Smith had a mullet, he'd have pretty curly hair too. So it might not look that. It might look kind of like that, but I definitely was thinking of Will Ferrell, especially in his what was that one? The song. Have you seen the Song of Fire and Ice? The one about Eurovision, the Eurovision. If you haven't seen it, it's one of
No,
the funniest and sweetest
seen
comedies
Game of
in recent
Thrones, but
years. No,
okay, Fire and
it's called
Ice.
Eurovision. I think it's the
Okay.
Song of Fire and Ice or something.
Oh.
Anyway, it's hilarious. Will Smith's movie with Rachel McAdams, who's I believe Canadian.
Mhm.
Bruce, let's move on to our numeros.
Okay.
Go
All
for it.
right. My number is 2000. Second time this year I've chosen the number 2000, and for the same reason both times. And the odd fact here is that two Edmonton Oilers teammates on the same year, the Edmonton Oilers became the first two players in the history of the National Hockey League to be credited with 2,000 block shots.
Wow.
Chris Russell being the first, and now Duncan Keith is number two on the all-time list, 2003, after blocking 5 shots tonight, and the milestone number 2000, where he joined Chris Russell in the exclusive club, was a fantastic, possibly goal-saving shot block from in close to the net, where he was in the blue paint, and Smith might have stopped it behind him and might not have, but it was a deadly shot from extremely close range that the announcers both thought very well could have been a goal. And I mean, obviously, it's taken a long time, 1,254 games. He's played more games than anybody else in the top 10. Zdeno Chara, number 11, he's played 1,653 games. But Brent Seabrook retired at 1998. Andy Green, who's still active, is at 1996 and might even possibly get there before the end of the season, which he's going to want to try because he may be done soon. But anyway, it's a milestone, and uh, I know that it's not the most stylish of stats. Some people hate block shots, but then when you watch playoff games and you look at all the trouble teams have gotten shots through to the net, and the players in shooting lanes, and I maintain that for every shot a guy blocks because he's in a shooting lane, there's probably another one or two shots that don't even get attempted because the guy is in the shooting lane. And so it doesn't, it's a proxy of positioning for me. And so anyway, Keith made this milestone tonight. I thought he played good. He thought him and Bouchard are really clicking. He kept no shots, no shot attempts even for Keith in this game, but he kept feeding the D to D passes over to Bouchard with time and space to let fly. And I mean, Doug Keith is smart enough to know that Bouchard's got a lot better shot than he does. So why not?
I like Keith much better than Nurse with Bouchard because Nurse likes to shoot it himself, right?
Mm-hmm.
Darnell's a shooter, and he's not a bad shooter, right? But when Evan Bouchard's on the ice, I want to see him shoot the puck. Right. All due respect to Darnell Nurse, and Keith does. He's great. He's looking for him all the time. He knows he hasn't been this long in the NHL and a Hall of Fame hockey player not to know what to do. You know, when you're out there with Patrick Kane, you set him up, and same with Evan Bouchard. I'm not comparing the two necessarily.
Right.
Bruce, 2,000 shots. Could you imagine what the toll that would take on your body?
Yeah.
Blocking 2,000 NHL caliber shots. Mm-hmm. And for people who don't like, okay, this is a hot take, and I'm going to try not to be too nasty. If you play hockey at any level and you try to get a shot in and it gets blocked, it is one of the most frustrating things on earth to have your shot blocked. You feel like a failure because you have failed. Your job is to get the puck through on the net. You're hoping to score a goal, and someone blocks your shot. Do you consider this a bad play or any kind of negative? And especially considering what you're saying in the playoffs, where it's an absolute staple of playoff hockey is the block shot. If you're not blocking shots in the playoff, you're not competing for your team. We heard this when there was no fans in the stadiums, in the hockey arenas, the ice palaces. And there would be a shot block, and it was one of the things more than anything else, as much as anything else, except the goal that would ignite the bench in cheering and applause. So if you're in that camp, and I understand there's all kinds of different kind of statistical and theoretical reasons for being against block shots, but come on, it is a strong, good, even great hockey play to block a shot.
Can be. Yeah.
Sure.
It's like in baseball, the sabermetricians, of which I am sort of I'm in that camp. Let's put it that way. Numbers people.
Yeah.
Say that the bunt is strategically not a good play. If you take the average of all bunts, like you bunt a guy ahead, but you give up an out, and that the trade-off is probably not right. And bunting has largely gone out of the game, but that doesn't mean that I, as a fan, don't enjoy a really nice bunt from time to time. And so I also enjoy a really nice block shot from time to time without feeling the need to ridicule every block shot as something that somehow the player's fault, that the puck was in his end to begin with, and that he's only doing it to correct a previous mistake or whatever. I mean, sometimes they do correct mistakes. Sometimes it's mistakes made by other players that the shot blocker prevents. But it's certainly part of the hurly-burly of hockey, shot blocking, and it's often underappreciated. So I'm going to go on the record as appreciating both Chris Russell and Duncan Keith. Not necessarily the most popular defenders on the team, but gutsy guys that have taken a lot of rubber on behalf of their team over the years, and
I have nothing but
only
admiration.
Two in the history of the league, and they're both on this Oilers team. I mean,
amazing.
That's quite striking.
As a beer league defenseman, I have nothing but admiration. It hurt, like every time I block a shot, it hurts like hell. I get out of the way. Like I'm not doing that. There's no way I'm going to block a shot unless I get by chance, unless it's a mistake, right? Which happens now and then. Someone shoots it off by foot. It just hurts so much. Like it can't. Now maybe they got some better equipment than me. Probably they do.
They also have harder shooters of the puck too, David. I don't suppose that you have.
No. So I just have I am in awe of NHL shot blockers. It's not as the equivalent of the shot blocking in the NBA. It's not quite that good, but it's pretty darn good. Okay, my number, Bruce, is 65.4. That is the goals for percentage of Kane, McDavid, and Yamamoto in 192 minutes of 5-on-5 play. 17 goals, 4-9 against. That is really, really good. That's not like the best lines in the league are going to be 66. They're going to be right there and a little maybe above that. Like you'd have to look around. And So Connor Yamamoto really fits well on that line. The interesting thing is, Jesse Puljujärvi, Evander Kane, and McDavid's goal for percentage in 149 minutes, just 50 minutes less, is 90%. 9 goals for, 1 against. This, of course, speaks well of Connor McDavid. But
Yes.
it shows if you can get that guy some wingers. This is the first. I mean, he's had Leon Draisaitl as winger. They've been putting those guys together. So he's obviously had some wingers. And Patrick Maroon was actually a pretty good fit as well. But you get Connor McDavid some wingers, and Connor Yamamoto and Jesse Puljujärvi are good glue players on the wing with those two guys. And you get a Kane is certainly performing, executing right now like a high level NHL sniper. Sure looks like one, and he's playing like one. This is really exciting heading into the playoffs. I'm thrilled, and no one knows what the future holds next season. Who cares about that? As Jay Woodcroft says, let's all take it one game at a time. There's enough troubles in each day for each day. So.
Yep. He'll say, I'm just concerned about the 2 points, and tonight they got 2 points, and they're now up to an even 100 on the season. So that's a nice round number for us too.
So nice, eh? So nice.
Hmm.
Yeah, what a relief, eh, Bruce? This season looked like it was going sideways, and it didn't. It's turned out really well, and in this last run of games, in some ways, has been more impressive, I think, than the first 21 games. What is it? Is it 36 games now under Woodcroft? Have been absolutely encouraging if you're an Edmonton Oilers fan, and giving hope that, when Connor McDavid and Leon Draisaitl are members of the Edmonton Oilers, however long that lasts, this team is going to win a Stanley Cup. It's going to happen. And that's what this has me thinking. So I'm pretty happy about that.
Not much to be unhappy about tonight. That was a good, solid team effort, and down a couple of important players, and playing against a team that, Pittsburgh needed to win this game too, right? I mean, they don't want to play Florida in the first round of the playoffs, which is what's at stake for them in Washington in their battle for third in the Metropolitan. And so Pittsburgh wanted this game, and Edmonton was just simply put the better team, and I'd say fairly soundly outplayed Pittsburgh in many respects, and they certainly did in the third period. Unlike last game, that tonight they took the 2-1 lead into the third period, and they just built on it.
The Oilers have some talent.
Yes.
Team rising to the top. All right, Bruce, let's leave it there. Thanks for talking tonight.
All right. Thanks for listening, everyone.
And in the meantime, and in between times, this has been another edition of the Cult of Hockey podcast.